In 2021, something unprecedented happened in America. 47 million workers quit their jobs in a single year, the highest number ever recorded. The media called it the Great Resignation. Economists predicted a new era. Workers would demand better pay, remote work, respect. The power had shifted. 3 years later, mass layoffs, wages losing to inflation, return to office mandates, and workers more anxious than ever. So what actually happened? This is the story of the greatest bait-and-switch in modern labor economics, and why 2025 is shaping up to be even worse. Welcome to History Media. We break down the systems, patterns, and hidden forces shaping our world, from business failures to economic shifts, backed by research and data. If you want to understand how the world actually works, not how the media spins it, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. And if this video helps you make sense of what's happening right now, leave a like. It genuinely helps us reach more people. Now, let's expose what the Great Resignation really was. Let's go back to 2021. The pandemic forced everyone home. Office workers spent 18 months in sweatpants, no commute, seeing their kids during lunch breaks. Then they were told, come back to the office. 9 to 5. Commute 2 hours. Sit in a cubicle. And millions said no. In the US, April 2021 saw 4 million people quit their jobs. By November 2021, that number hit 4.5 million, an all-time record. Total for 2021. 47.8 million resignations. In the UK, similar patterns emerged. Nearly 1 million unfilled vacancies. Workers demanding flexibility. The media narrative was clear. Workers finally had leverage. Companies would have to compete for talent. Wages would rise. Conditions would improve. Social media exploded with resignation stories. I quit my toxic job and now I'm happier. Companies don't deserve loyalty. Know your worth. Economists called it a permanent shift. A new normal. The end of employer dominance. But here we are in 2025. So what went wrong? The answer is nothing went wrong. It went exactly according to plan. Let's look at what actually happened, using data from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics and UK Office for National Statistics. First, most people who quit in 2021 to 2022 didn't leave the workforce. They switched jobs. In 2021, 72% of people who quit already had another job lined up. Why? Because during the pandemic, certain sectors were desperate for workers. Warehousing like Amazon and logistics. Delivery services. Tech companies like Zoom, Shopify, and crypto startups. Healthcare. Retail trying to recover. Companies were offering $15 to $20 per hour instead of $12. Signing bonuses. That's not a revolution, that's people taking a $3 per hour raise. Second, who actually quit? Workers aged 16 to 24 had the highest resignation rate, mostly in service jobs and retail. Those aged 25 to 34 had high rates too, switching for remote work. The 35 to 54 age group showed moderate rates, and workers 55 and older, they stayed put or retired early. The Great Resignation was mostly young people in low-wage service jobs switching to slightly less terrible jobs. Third, corporate profits during the Great Resignation. Corporate profits hit 70-year highs in 2021. CEO pay has increased 1,460% since 1978. Worker pay increased just 18% in the same period. And here's the kicker. Real wages, adjusted for inflation, actually declined for most workers between 2021 to 2023. You got a raise. But prices went up faster. The UK saw the same pattern. Job switching, not job quitting. Wage gains eroded by 10.1% inflation in 2022. So if workers didn't gain power, who did? Here's what happened behind closed doors in 2021 to 2022. Phase 1. Overhire. Tech companies went on a hiring frenzy. Meta, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Netflix, they hired aggressively. Why? Because interest rates were at zero. Money was free. Investors rewarded growth at any cost. Between 2020 to 2022, tech companies hired over 600,000 new workers. Phase 2. The trap springs. November 2022. Federal Reserve starts raising interest rates to fight inflation. Suddenly, free money ends. Investors demand profit, not growth. What happens next? November 2022, Meta lays off 11,000 workers, 13% of their workforce. January 2023, Amazon lays off 18,000. January 2023, Google lays off 12,000. March 2023, Meta lays off another 10,000. 2023 total. Over 260,000 tech workers laid off. 2024 saw another 150,000 plus laid off across tech, media, and finance. Remember all those people who quit their jobs in 2021 for remote work at tech companies? They just got laid off. Phase 3. Regain control. With mass layoffs, unemployment edges up, still low, but rising. Workers become scared. Negotiating power evaporates. Return to office mandates begin. 2024 to 2025 saw major companies demand full return to office. Amazon. 5 days per week. JP Morgan. No more remote. Disney. 4 days minimum. Google. Tracking badge swipes. Workers who fought for remote work now face a choice. Come back or quit. But quit to where? The hiring has stopped. U.S. job openings. Down 20% from the 2022 peak. UK job vacancies. Falling for 20 consecutive months. The trap worked perfectly. This brings us to 2023's buzzword. Quiet quitting. Quiet quitting. Doing exactly what your job description requires. Nothing more. Let's be clear. This used to be called having a job. You work your hours. You do your tasks. You go home. But somewhere between the 1980s and now, American and British corporate culture decided that wasn't enough. You should be passionate about spreadsheets. You should answer emails at 9 p.m. You should work unpaid overtime. You should treat your job like your identity. This was sold as ambition and career growth. In reality, it was free labor. U.S. worker productivity increased 65% since 1979. Wage growth. 17%. Where did the other 48% go? to executives and shareholders. So when Gen Z workers said, "I'll do my job, but I won't do three people's jobs for the same pay," the media called it quiet quitting and painted them as lazy. Articles appeared. How to spot a quiet quitter. Is quiet quitting destroying productivity? The quiet quitting crisis. But from a worker's perspective. I'm doing exactly what you pay me for. If you want more work, pay me more. This is economics, not entitlement. And here's the thing, corporate profits are at record highs. They can afford to pay more. They choose not to. The Great Resignation briefly shifted power. Corporations used mass layoffs and economic fear to take it back. And now we're here. So where does that leave us in 2025? The U.S. economy in January 2025. Unemployment at 4.1%, up from 3.4% in 2023. Inflation still above target at 3.2%. Real wage growth, essentially flat. Job openings declining. Layoffs continuing in tech, media, and finance. The UK. Unemployment at 4.3%. Inflation finally dropping but the damage done. Cost of living crisis ongoing. Public sector strikes. Worker sentiment surveys show 62% of Americans fear layoffs in their industry. 54% say their pay hasn't kept up with inflation. 47% are worse off than 2 years ago. Meanwhile, the costs that matter keep rising. Rent up 30% since 2020. Groceries up 25%. Childcare costs up 32%. Car insurance up 26%. And companies are using this anxiety. If you don't want to return to office, there are plenty of people who will take your job. They're right. The mass layoffs created a pool of desperate, qualified workers. The power hasn't just returned to employers. It swung further than before. The result? Workers are taking side gigs to survive. Burning out at record rates. Unable to negotiate. Stuck in jobs they hate because they can't risk leaving. The U.S. Surgeon General in 2024 declared workplace stress a public health crisis. UK studies show 76% of workers experience moderate to high stress. This isn't sustainable. But here's the question nobody's asking. This isn't the first time this happened. 1990s. Dot-com boom, workers gain power, 2000 crash, layoffs, power lost. 2000s. Housing boom, easy credit, 2008 crash, millions unemployed, power lost. 2020s. Pandemic response, worker shortage, inflation response, layoffs, power lost. See the pattern? The system works like this. Step 1, economic boom, often debt-fueled. Step 2, workers gain temporary leverage. Step 3, crisis hits, rate hikes, recession, pandemic. Step 4, mass layoffs. Step 5, workers lose leverage. Step 6, repeat. Workers never actually gain structural power. They get temporary market leverage during unsustainable booms. Then the boom ends, and they are worse off than before. Compare this to Germany, France, Scandinavia. Strong unions with 40 to 80% unionization versus 10% in the US and UK. Legal protections against arbitrary firing. Mandatory severance. Works councils. Sectoral bargaining. Result: more stable employment, less wage volatility, lower stress. In the US and UK, corporations have spent decades weakening unions, fighting labor laws, and lobbying for flexibility, which means we can fire you whenever. US corporate lobbying, $3.5 billion per year. UK corporate lobbying, £2 billion per year. That money buys laws that favor employers. This isn't a conspiracy. It's just how power works when it's unchecked. So what does this mean for you, whether you're in New York or London, working in tech or retail? First, understand the game. The Great Resignation wasn't a revolution. It was a temporary market condition. Market conditions change. Your employer isn't your family. You're not lucky to have a job. You exchange labor for money. That's it. Second, build resilience. Keep skills updated. Build emergency funds, 3 to 6 months expenses. Network outside your company. Document your accomplishments. Don't tie your identity to your employer. Third, recognize that individual solutions can't fix systemic problems. You can't budget your way out of stagnant wages. You can't hustle your way out of a rigged labor market. Real change requires collective action. Union organizing is up 200% in the US since 2021. Starbucks, Amazon, Apple Store workers organizing. The UK is seeing its largest strike wave in decades. And political engagement. Labor law reform. Corporate accountability. Antitrust enforcement. The Great Resignation wasn't a lie because workers didn't quit, they did. It was a lie because it promised power that the system was never going to let them keep. Understanding that is the first step to changing it. If this video helped you understand what's really happening, hit that like button and subscribe to History Media. We break down the systems shaping your life every week. And drop a comment. Are you better or worse off than you were 3 years ago? Let's compare notes. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.